You guys are tuning into another episode of the Rated RX podcast. I'm Robbie Abasi here with Xavier Hill and Sam Lona. We got your dose of shenanigans and pharmaceutical comedy. Xavier and Sam, how are you boys doing today?
Doing pretty good. I've got getting ready for a flight to go out, flying out to Colorado for my cousin's wedding for the weekend. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be hot. It should be fun.
Very cool. Tying the knot.
Nice. And yeah, it's been going pretty good for me. I'm a floater at the hospital, as you guys know. And I have a student this week that I'm helping to mentor and teach. So I've been trying to get back into my teaching brain and my mentoring brains. He actually did a patient education today, and he did a great job. So I hope he, keeps up the good work. We're going to do some topic discussions this week and keep it going. I hope he learns a lot, and I hope I fill in very well for our other pharmacist who's on vacation right now.
Nice. I hope he does well too, because I'm sure we'll hear about it on the show if he doesn't.
Maybe. He's killing it so far.
That's great. Yeah, I've been pretty good too. This week's been pretty busy at work. I got a lot of people checking in the hospital. Today was wild. Very, very wild. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe It's just that summer madness and heat's driving people to get a little bit more delirious and hospital seeking. So, yeah, we'll see how things go. Hopefully it dies down. But, from people feeling better, not from physically dying. So, yeah, anyways.
Stop it.
Coming after the 4th of July.
All right, so before I get in trouble, I'm going to pass it over to Sam, who's got a fun Plan B blind draft for us. Sam, please take it away.
All right, so we have a Plan B blind draft. We are doing it kind of more trying to be funny with some drug classes and candies. So it's going to be a pairing, a drug class and a chocolate, some sort of chocolate, either candy bar, something to do with chocolate, and kind of why they pair together. So it's going to be five options. So you're going to rank number 1 is either you think it's the best pairing or the funniest combo, or that works well together, and then 5 would be least. So I'm going to say the drug class, the candy, and then why they pair together.
All right.
This will be fun.
Very unique. I like it. I wish I had a chocolate bar with me right now.
I know, right? I need a Snickers.
All right, so the first one is SSRIs and M&Ms. They're small, colorful, everywhere, and you take them every day. Like an SSRI, they seem harmless at first, but don't underestimate their impact.
I kind of like that pairing, honestly.
It's like not bad.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards right in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Play it safe. Yeah, I like that because eating an M&M is like a little burst of serotonin in the brain over a chomp on one, And so, and you don't feel the effects of those M&Ms unless you eat it every day for 6 weeks. So just like those SSRIs. So yeah, I say play it safe, right in the mid.
Okay, we're going 3. All right, the next one would be opioids and Reese's peanut butter cups. They are too good, dangerously good, hugely addictive combo, delicious euphoria until you realize you've had 6 and your life is spiraling.
Oh my goodness.
That's number 1 for me, baby.
I do love Reese's Pieces.
Well, it's the
but with an
peanut butter
opioid,
cup.
though, I just don't...
It's the full cup.
I won't argue with you there, okay?
It sounds like
it's
a
my
good
number
time.
1 candy.
No pain, no gain.
Okay, number 1.
You'll gain with those, but...
Okay, the third one is oral contraceptives and a Take 5 bar. Literally named after what you're about to do when you realize you're protected. A perfect blend of control, indulgence, and a little salt.
You had me up at I was like, I don't know about that. Then that last little pun at the very end. Oh, goodness. I don't know, man.
It's funny.
It's funny. It's funny.
A funny combo.
Mm-hmm.
Man, these are gonna be all over the place. What are you thinking? Like we got 2, we got 4, we got 5.
Honestly,
Not feeling it.
I have a child, so you can't be asking me about birth control. So, and I'm not the biggest fan of Take 5, so it's gonna be pretty high on the list for me. If
Pretty low, right? For
high as in like numerically
5.
high,
Yeah,
like
gotcha,
a 4 or
gotcha.
5.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards 4 or 5 too. I'll let you make the final decision.
Let's go 4. I feel like it can be worse.
Locking
Really?
in 4.
Okay.
All right. Next one is MAOIs and Raisinets. Old school, misunderstood, and there's so many food interactions and warnings, including chocolate. Proceed with caution.
All right. I mean, that's a reasonable pairing. That makes sense in my when you said that and you justified that. That made sense in my head. Even though like raisins do pair well with stuff, MAOIs do not pair well with stuff. But it's still I like the old school fling you mentioned there.
Yeah, not too many people like the raisins or MAOIs.
Yeah.
Well, pharmacists don't really care for the MAOIs.
Yeah.
All the drug interactions.
Always causing problems.
Mm-hmm. So you want to go 2?
2 as in you like it, the combo? Or
you got 2 and 5
I like the
left.
combo. You're not eating the combo. Yeah, the combo makes sense to me. Yeah, that's pretty high up there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well,
I can see.
Feel free to disagree. Feel free to disagree.
No, I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
So 2, lock it in.
He's thinking.
I see the cogwheel spinning, processing.
What the next one could be better though.
But why bet on something that you don't have when you have something right now?
Okay.
That's literally gambling.
Are you going 2?
My risk. Yes, let's go 2.
Okay. Then locked in for your 5 is antifungals and almond joy. You either love it or you hate it. Just like your fungal infections, it's going to be a weird time either way.
Okay.
I mean, that is a good pairing. But I think the MAOI is still better.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Slightly.
So you guys went number 1, opioids and Reese's peanut butter cups. 2 was MAOIs and Raisinets. 3 was SSRIs and M&Ms. 4, oral contraceptives and a Take 5 bar. And 5, antifungals and an almond joy. How do we feel?
Like it.
How do we feel?
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
No clue how this should be ranked.
Yeah. But I'm sure we did great. First list of its kind, so we're setting the standard.
Good work. All right, you guys did well. I think. You get points. 10 points.
Sam, how would you have ranked this when you were creating this little draft?
I definitely agree with the Reese's peanut butter cups. That's a go-to top candy right there. And I thought the Raisinets was funny. Like it's not really like it's not your go-to, right? It's not your go-to candy. It's like, oh, there's a raisin in here. It's like, yeah, okay, like it's fine, but it's not the go-to. And then some good puns in the oral contraceptive. But Reese's peanut butter cups was number 1 for me.
Okay. I'm glad we got that right for you.
Yeah, as long as we get number 1 right, that's all that matters, right? You don't want to end up with the number 1 as your number 5 on accident. So,
all right. Well, Xavier, I think you got a pharmacy fact for us to continue on.
Yes, sir. I'll take over now. Crazy fact for you guys. Way back. I'm talking 1240 AD. So this is like during the Roman Empire, right? Pharmacists and physicians were basically the same thing. Like it was hard to differentiate. They both diagnosed and they both compounded the drug and prescribed it. And they both sold it. But that all changed because Emperor Frederick II, the ruler of the Holy Empire, dropped a bombshell. He was like, we're going to separate this out. Why? Why do you want to do that? Why do we want to just make us lose all our power? He separated it out. He was like, simple. It was a conflict of interest. The physicians were diagnosing the patients and selling the meds, and they would charge crazy prices for the medications or was given like unnecessary treatments just to pad their pockets. So the doctors were greedy. So Frederick, he was like, get all that. We're going to separate it. Y'all can only prescribe, and they got to go pick it up at the pharmacy. So this made it more of where the pharmacists were their own profession. They had their own responsibility of preparing and dispensing the medications, and the physicians only could diagnose the treatment, basically. So, how do you guys feel about that? What are the pros and cons for the pharmacists in this situation?
I mean, I'd say it's understandable where that's coming from. I know now we're looking at insurance companies, PBMs, things like that of controlling each part and controlling prices. You can see the same idea where that comes from. Some must have been some really expensive oregano that someone was buying to cause the king, the emperor, to step in and take care of business.
He stood on business, like the young folks say.
Yeah, Sam makes a really good point. We're sort of seeing that play out right now. We talk about it on the show, all the different states trying to separate the two, PBMs and pharmacies. Definitely necessary because I can envision a world where a physician slash pharmacist came along and said, "Hey, you're sick. You know what I got? I got some snake oil for you and some cocaine. Just take them both. I will give you a discount because you're my patient." When really they're ripping them off. So makes sense. It makes sense. I'm glad they sort of separated the profession because I think that that's what led to specialties. So I think, maybe on the surface it kind of wasn't, it seemed like a bad idea at the time, but I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the pharmacists now being once separated? They're able to like hone their craft and really get really good at their job. And then they even wrote medical encyclopedias and stuff. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, we talked a little bit about like expanding our roles or what we are looking as pharmacists in the future, or different ways to be. So as you're saying, focusing on something specific, being an expert in that, and then in this case, even going to freedom with limited oversight of some sort of preventative medicine that you're able to prescribe or be a part of. So expanding that role, but it is good and allows people across the board to, once you specialize, again, the whole point to be the expert in that. So splitting things apart allows more of that expertise.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because it creates opportunities for people to become experts and specialists. Like they probably would have not done that had there not been the necessity for it. I remember back in pharmacy school in the lab, speaking of like specialties and writing encyclopedias, I remember being in a lab, and I won't say his name, but it was my academic advisor running the compounding lab here. He had his little flex. He had his USP book that he freaking wrote and published a very long time ago, just sitting on top of it. And I remember walking up front, asking him a question, seeing this big book, this old USP book, and I was like, "Aren't this stuff on the internet? Why is he carrying this now?" And I see his name as the published author, and I'm just like, this guy is my freaking advisor. Man, I gotta make sure I don't look like an idiot around this guy. I failed at that attempt, but had this not been a separation, he wouldn't have had an opportunity like that. So, kind of cool. Kind of cool. Hope you're doing well out there. I won't say your last name, but hope you're doing well out there, Sam. Not this Sam. My advisor's name was Sam.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Nice.
But one
Right.
one thing on that separation of like now in like human meds, I'm sure most people know that are listening here, that you can't force someone to go to pharmacy, or you can't pay a doctor to push a one med or the other or something like that, or go through your pharmacy. But in vet med, you are allowed to do that. So there
Wow.
are like, if they have online portals, like almost forcing it or going through that, or if they go through their online portal thing, then like the clinic or the doctors get kickbacks on meds or how many scripts go through there. And so highly illegal for humans, but vets are wheeling and dealing over there. I guess they haven't closed those loopholes on the vet world.
Dogs
Wow.
need to unionize, man. Jeez,
That's right.
this is some bullcrap. Yeah.
But
But now that you mention that, dude, like, oh, wow, that blows my mind. I remember trying to get a special dog food for my pets, and I had to log into like a online portal. I had to put my vet's name in. The vet had to like approve this purchase, and then I would buy it from the vet. And it's just, I didn't think about it at the time, but holy crap, you just blew my mind.
wild, right?
So I think
Yeah.
some of the big companies, they have software that links, to their essentially their EHR sort of thing. And so when they go through that or they put it in, essentially they get a percentage of any script that goes through it for those. So yeah, you having to log into the vet's portal like has that counts as a script or whatever it may be. So the clinic or the doctor is trying to hit benchmarks. Usually it's a clinic trying to get so many scripts or something like that if it's a corporate setup, but different ballpark.
Nice. Yeah, that's a con to it for sure. I'm getting kickbacks still. Speaking of other cons, though, I mean, centuries later, we're still kind of secondary to positions. We're still under their thumb. And you know what's crazy? The monarchs back then feared the pharmacists would get too much power that they sent inspectors to check the pharmacy. And that's where that came from. That's why we have inspections all the time. It's because they were scared we would have too much power as pharmacists that they began to send inspectors to check on us. And that's now you have the modern day pharmacy inspection, which is crazy. How do you guys think about that?
He set the tone for everyone.
Just laying down the law across the board.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Like our pharmaceutical history goes way back that far to kind of just see where we are today and how we got here. It's pretty wild. So I thought that was a pretty cool fun fact.
I like it.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks. So now we'll pass it over to Sam, not Robbie's mentor, our Sam right here for the weekly weigh-in.
All right, we got our weekly weigh-in. This one is about a little pre-shift ritual for pharmacists. So a tech writes in, my pharmacist refuses to start the day until they've had their pre-shift ritual, which involves a 5-minute stare into the void while sipping coffee in complete silence. Is this burnout or is this a sacred tradition? What's the immediate take right there?
I think this would be like a scene in a movie about pharmacists, and it would be hilarious. I would laugh out loud at this. This is crazy. But I definitely think I think it's good for him. This is his sacred ritual. It probably helps him like calm himself. He know the day might be crappy, so he just want I just need 10 minutes to myself to just chill and then jump into the fire and then go. So it probably gets him going, focuses him so he don't make mistakes, and just give him 1 second of peace for the day.
I like it. Robbie?
Yeah, I think this ritual probably stemmed from having burnout, I think he probably hit a wall at one point, realized this is what keeps me sane throughout my shift to keep me going, and thus the form of a ritual. I'm glad he figured it out. I hope he is a good coworker and not just neglecting everything and sipping his coffee, but it sounds like it should help him so he can be a good coworker.
All right, what about you guys personally coping with mental prep for a busy day? Zay, anything any ritual you have before a shift?
Yeah, so it's very important for me because as a floater pharmacist, I switch teams a lot, or I'm in different areas or not. So I gotta prepare myself depending on where I'm going to be. If I'm on one medicine team one day, I need to come early, prep and kind of the patients because I don't know any patients. I come a little bit early, just kind of prep on the patients, and then get some coffee once I got the first round of looks. I look at all the urgent stuff first, get a little coffee in, and then once the day gets going, I'm in my groove. Or if I'm in like the ER, I gotta like mentally prepare myself. I'm like, it's gonna be a busy night. ER is gonna be crazy. I don't know because you don't know what's gonna come at you for the ER, so you just gotta be like sitting there ready. So I like to same thing, come in a little early or just see what shift I'm gonna be, so I can like prepare myself mentally for how the day might go. Luckily, I like to call myself White Cloud. Because usually I get the lighter days, or I get lucky and the crazy stuff gets canceled, or the discharge you thought was gonna be bad end up going very smoothly, or the doctors you work with end up being great. I think I'm a little bit lucky in that aspect, but yeah. So I gotta come early, focus a little bit, prepare, because no telling what shift I'm gonna be or what I'm gonna have to do for the day. So that's kind of my little bit of a ritual.
Okay. Robbie, anything for you?
So I have about a 25-minute drive to work. And in that 25-minute drive, I would say is when I probably pursue my ritual in the form of listening to all sorts of music. Sometimes it's like crazy heavy metal stuff. I think the youths nowadays would probably call something like System of a Down, Chop Suey, dad rock, but whatever. it still gets me raging all the way over to and I'll admit this, I was listening to some Party in the USA, Miley Cyrus as well the other day, and it got me going. Yeah, exactly. So I think it just sort of depends on what my mood is and what I'm trying to bring out, and that largely depends on the shift I'm going to. I like doing transition to care shift, so I tend to listen to happier music, maybe Miley Cyrus, maybe some other things, some indie rock. But if I'm doing a shift I know I hate, then that's when I'm turning to that hard rock metal music to get me ready for war. So it just depends on what I think my mindset needs to be.
You just in
Okay,
the
okay.
car, demon screaming. Whoa.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, and then I'll be self-conscious. I'm like, and I'll stop. I'm
You
like,
can just see the pharmacist just banging his head before he comes in. It's like, okay,
yeah,
let's go.
yeah. I get worried that people are gonna watch me just like jamming out on the road. So I have to like, I get someone that just pulls up next to me on the highway, and I'm like, okay, now I have to stop singing so I don't look like an idiot. Then they go like, get back to it.
Gotta get some tent, Robbie, so they can't see you.
It's illegal for your front windows in California, FYI.
It is, but they don't
It's
do
worth
anything
it.
about it.
It's worth it for your freedom,
That's true.
for your mental health, for your
It helps
mental
with
health.
the sun too.
Yeah, true.
So it seems like clearing our minds. I would agree with that. Trying not to. I think mine is trying not to think about work or the shift ahead of time. So sometimes music's great. Sometimes it just, if it's music, then it makes me just start thinking about stuff. Not always work, and then it starts going to work, and it's like, oh, now I'm thinking about work ahead of time. So lately, I've been doing podcasts.
Oh, tell me
Like
more.
the Rated R
On the
X
drive.
podcast?
On the drive, yeah, happens. I think lately it's been some fantasy football, but having something to
Yeah.
listen to, and like it's like catches my attention if I'm listening to this versus thinking about work or something else. But in this case, we're talking about work, so it keeps my brain locked into that, and so you're not getting yourself all worked up ahead of time, and then just hopefully coming to work, clear mind, check those scripts, talk to those patients, good to go.
Yes, sir.
All right. So do you guys think then that either that moment or yours of these quiet moments or your own thing, I guess in that idea of his 5-minute quiet moment there, are we reducing medication errors? Are we helping this? Or is it just delaying the inevitable of this shitty shift that's about to happen for this pharmacist?
Sometimes I think you are delaying the inevitable, but just coming in with a clear mind, focusing yourself on what's going on, remind yourself to, hey, slow down. Make sure you double check. You're at work now. You're not at home. You need to tune in. Cause like outside of work, my brain shuts off and sometimes it doesn't work. And I just end up doing stuff mindlessly. But at work, I know I got patients to take care of and it's easy to make a mistake and it's easy for to forget to second check something or miss a dose or thing or something like that. So it's definitely great. I think it's a great idea to really just use that silence, and I think it may just help you refocus and prevent medical errors. Yeah, for sure. Medication errors.
All right, Robbie, you're nodding your head over there. You feeling the same?
I'm definitely feeling the same. I think that taking a moment for yourself to help you clear your mind is a lot like getting a good fresh night's worth of sleep. Your mind's going to be in the game. You're going to be sharper. You're going to be more aware of what's going on to your surroundings with the prescriptions. And I think you're going to be able to give yourself a better chance at a successful shift when your mind is clearer. So I think it's important to take some time off for yourself. I work in a psych hospital. I've seen what happens to people who don't. So I think if you have the opportunity to take a breather, relax, clear your mind, whether that's 3 minutes of, sitting alone, trying to do some mindfulness, or I don't recommend doom scrolling on your phone. I'm guilty of it. Those tiki-takis and those Instagrams. But if that's what helps you forget about what's going on and clear your mind, then hey, by all means. I think mental health is very important. I'm a big advocate for it, so definitely take some time off if you need it so you can give your best self for your shift and your patients.
Yeah, it's a good take. I would say big one for me, a concept of just taking a lunch, breaking that day apart, having that, whatever it might be, 30 minutes, an hour that you can take and clear your mind, not still working through your lunch. So many stories of retail and just being slammed and never getting lunches and things like that. So we're pretty fortunate that we do get, we have quite a few pharmacists. We do get lunches and can take some time out of there. I hope you guys are the same, where you get some time to yourself versus retail. Sounds like a number of people just aren't getting that time for themselves. Sounds like we're better at it. You see the signs now of pharmacies closed for 30 minutes for lunch. I don't remember ever seeing that growing up, but you do see that regularly now. So that kind of self-care that we're talking about and brought up, where do you guys see either experience or thought of where that line is of you taking that time versus it being the first 30, 45 minutes of the day and everyone is having to carry you because you got to do your Zen thing.
Well, if there's work to be done and you're clocked in already and it's time for you to work, you gotta go ahead and work. Ideally, you want to do that maybe right before your shift, before you clock in, but you don't want to like have work start to build up and pile up on you, and then other people have to start taking over some of your responsibilities so you guys don't get behind for the day. So I definitely think there's a limit to it. Don't take it too far. It shouldn't take that long to reset your mind, but definitely, take a little time for yourself, but try not to, you know, ignore your responsibilities and leave stuff for others.
Okay, Robbie.
Yeah, I think timing is everything when you take some time to yourself. Example, I've had coworkers who decide to take their lunch during the busiest time in the pharmacy, and they just disappear knowing there's prescriptions piling up, meds in the queue, and they purposely go out of their way to avoid doing work. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure we've all guilty of doing that too, but when it becomes a repeated behavior, that's when it becomes an issue, because now you're just being malicious with your time and being selfish. Yes, you do need to take some time off for yourself, but if you are doing it at the cost of other people's expenses, then you're just passing on the burden to everyone else. So timing is important. If there's nothing going on and you need 5 minutes to yourself, hey, take 5 minutes to yourself. But if there are a bunch of stuff in the queue and doctors on the lines and orders waiting to be verified, probably should think about when you're going to take that time off, take your break. Just be courteous, because your coworkers will remember you did that. And they will hold it against you. I've seen it. I've been guilty of, holding it against other people too. Don't do that. Don't do that. I've had coworkers who, someone who's a good friend of mine, and I'm obviously not going to say his name on the show, but he always decided to go take a dump whenever like a certain time of the day. And during the certain time of the day, it always got busy. And I'm just like, where are you going? And he's like, I got to code brown. And I'm like, no, you stay right here. There's stuff going on.
Hey,
He's regular, okay?
Yeah,
He's regular.
Yeah, every
Like
10 o'clock
clockwork.
on the dot. 10
Post
o'clock
lunch.
on the dot every day.
Pre-lunch.
Like, there he goes. Got his
Gotta
code
make room
brown.
for his lunch.
But it's just like, come on, man, you could plan better than this. And he's like, I'm going to do it in the admin conference room because they have better toilet paper. And I'm like, bro. Just, okay, hurry up.
But yeah, to piggyback off that a little bit though, like in the hospital, it's 24/7. So whatever work you don't get done gets passed to the next shift, which may not have as many pharmacists. And it's the night shift. We usually do like 2 pharmacists in the night. So if you don't get it done, it still has to get done. And you don't want to dump extra work on your night shift people or the next shift people for sure.
All right, we dig it. So yeah, we're saying lunches for sure, but sometimes timely matter in it. Taking yourself 5-10 minutes, coffee break, get yourself a snack, do what you need to step away. All good things in moderation, just like everything, always in moderation and times to help that mental health. Thinking of that kind of transition to being more mental health aware and focused. Do you guys see in the pharmacy culture kind of that too focused on that toughing it out mentality that maybe is still going on or was previously or even getting worse, instead of building in that kind of decompression time and time for yourself in the pharmacy?
I think we're getting better for sure. We're starting to like you said, the outpatient retail pharmacists are now having their pharmacies closed for their lunch break. I think people are trying to do better about actually taking their lunch break and like handling business either ahead of time or make sure your work is spaced out and you have a space of time for you to take a break. So I think we're getting better. We do definitely still tough it out some days depending on how crazy it is, but I think we're going in the right direction of trying to advocate for our mental health and trying to make sure we have the normal break that everyone else who works gets to have, So
Well said. Robbie?
When I was working community and I was a floater pharmacist, I did feel like technicians, other pharmacists, even interns did take pride in maybe skipping a break to help catch up on things, taking a quick lunch, working on the clock. And I just didn't understand why, because, it's like, this is a job and we get paid for this. So why am I working for free? And then the company is and if the company's also saying not to do this, but we're doing this anyways, why are we doing this? And I think that just comes down to people wanting to be efficient and getting their work done. And maybe it's a cool, tough thing to do. Like, I man through this shift, you can do it too. And that tends to be, at least back then, that was the culture I observed in the community setting. Now that I work in a psychiatric hospital, it's like different. I think everybody definitely values taking time off for mental health. Everybody gets it because we're actively treating it and helping people address their issues. So, I mean, there are days off where I know I need a mental health day, and I'll just call in sick, say, hey, I can't come in, I just need a mental health day. And no one bats an eye. Everyone understands. And, dock it as a personal sick day. And I feel like if I had pulled that card at another job or facility, they'd be like, what do you mean you need a day off for a mental health day, right? You're laughing because it's true, but it's just like,
cool,
yeah.
They allow you guys to do that.
They definitely take time to make sure we feel okay mentally, because I always joke about this at my hospital. There's a fine line between being the patient and being the caregiver at the hospital. And there are times where that line blurs and you're like, maybe I need to be admitted here. And so that's why it's very important you take that day off, you take that mental time for yourself, and don't ever feel ashamed about it. Because if you are ashamed about it and you're not talking about it, you are basically saying, it's okay to keep this as the status quo, and I need to work through my lunch and tough it out. And there's no reason we should be suffering.
Well said. Well said. The toughing it out, I think, again, we see it more in community where you do have those signs. They actually close the door or the top for shutting down the pharmacy for 30 minutes, where talking to older pharmacists, and they're like, yeah, I 15 years never took a lunch at this place and things. And again, it almost being like you're saying a point of joy or pride of doing that. Obviously there's thing of like, yeah, it sucked, but also, yeah, I was able to do that, and now it's all cushy, easy. We get our mental health days over here in the psych ward. So definitely some of that toughen it out, because that's the way it was. It was across the board. Like you didn't take lunches, you didn't leave, it didn't close, and I'm sure it's still like that for some people, where they're skipping their lunches regularly for pharmacies or for techs, or that closes and they're still sitting there working behind there getting scripts done when they should be taking that time for themselves. So I'd say it's definitely still there, but as Xavier said, it's getting better, and we're getting progress on making sure everyone's getting their mental health time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't worry about it until we have to. So just like, you don't worry about being sick until you're sick, and nothing, like, you worry about the 100 other problems going on in your life. But when that one thing is the problem, your other 100 problems all of a sudden aren't a problem anymore. You worry about that one thing. So I think you need to add that to your 100 problems and worry about the 101 and include it into self-care. That's my hot take.
Love that.
Self-care is important. Bottom line. All right. Thank you, guys, for that spirited conversation on mental health. Robbie, we haven't passed it over to you for the pharmacy pandemonium.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sam. So this story is written by the username, and I'm going to butcher this. I think it's Ken Pengossam. I don't know. How do you guys say this? What's your take on this? Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go on that. And we're going to keep this Snicker bar or chocolate bar themed here for today's story. I work at a chain pharmacy which took over an independent who was moving to another state. That store did deliveries, so my store decided to start doing deliveries to help the customers from their old store, since most were elderly. One day I get a call for an urgent delivery order. We don't do same-day deliveries unless it's urgent. Upon asking the patient what was needed, I was asked to deliver a Snickers bar. Seriously, I said to the patient, would old pharmacy, deliver a Snickers bar to you, knowing they would not. Patient responded, no, but they didn't sell candy. Thus, I made her promise, ma'am, if you get a valid prescription from your doctor for a Snickers bar, I will gladly deliver it to you. Never got that prescription. This was obviously a time before Uber Eats, next day Amazon delivery, I guess. So
Yeah, it must have been.
Not in that town, I guess.
Maybe it's a small town too. They don't have it yet.
yeah. So what are you guys' initial thoughts about this request? Do you think it's reasonable, unreasonable?
At the right price, I'd deliver that candy bar for him. No problem. You want to start putting on those urgent fees, those chocolate taxes?
That'll be
We can get that
$2,000.
bar to you.
Nah, I feel it. Nah, it is an outrageous request.
You think so? Really?
I mean, I see that they were stuck at. I was like, I can get you one when it's time for your meds to come or something like that, right? And I'll just
Yeah,
grab you
it's on the
one.
way. Why
They're
not,
like,
right?
You're my favorite patient. I'll just get one out of the store. We'll buy one for you or something like that. But they probably should need. They probably got diabetes. They probably don't even need to be.
It's the same in the
they need
works.
Snickers
Maybe they got
bars,
low blood sugar, man. They need to. That's why it's urgent. They
No,
just
their
check their
glucose is
blood
400,
sugars.
and they need to be admitted.
The little euphoric out of it. You know, their sugars were down in the 60s. I need my chocolate bar. Urgent.
I don't know. This is definitely a goofy request. Back when I worked community, we definitely delivered things with their prescriptions, of course, like they would call it an order since we were already dropping off the medicines. The way our old pharmacy skirted around it was there was a delivery fee. And it doesn't matter what you wanted, doesn't matter how much you wanted, but you had to pay the delivery fee. So I don't know. I think if this person's willing to pay the delivery fee and to get that Snickers bar, that's going to be a heck of an expensive Snickers bar. But hey, this one is apparently urgent. So why stand in this person's way?
Yeah,
Just
I
need their
guess.
Snickers bar.
Make some
Yeah.
money off of them.
So would you ever call a pharmacy for a candy bar? Well, let's say you were this old person and it wasn't a Snickers bar. What would you be asking for? What would in your mind would make this okay to ask for if it wasn't medicine related?
My meds.
This is a pharmacy. We only give meds.
Maybe a medical device like a walker or something.
The penis pump, medical device, penis pump.
Yeah. I need my penis pump. It's a medical device.
This is urgent situation.
Come on, my lady's coming over in T-minus 20 minutes.
So only medical devices for you. What about you, Sam? Is there anything that you would try to request that you think would not be unreasonable?
Where my mind's going is like you're getting your meds on like ice pack or something like that, and maybe you need, like, you ran out of ice. It was like, can you guys just send me the box with all the ice in it? Like, I don't need the med. I just can't get to the store, or I don't want to drive to get my ice. Like, just send me that box. Give me that delivery fee full of ice. That's all I need.
Hey, if you pay the delivery fee, I will gladly drop off as much ice as you want. Okay. So
There you go.
So where does the great customer service end and enabling unrealistic expectations begin?
Delivering that candy bar.
Really?
He wants his candy bar.
Yeah.
Zay, go take 5 minutes. Go get your candy bar. Go get that Snickers in the other room. Come back.
I guess this is a tough one for you, Xavier, because I know you work inpatient, so this isn't something you're actively dealing with, I suppose. But Sam, I know like you work in the outpatient setting. I mean, how do you skirt around this? Like, I'm sure people ask for all sorts of crazy things from you, and you have to be a pharmacist, but there still is some sort of customer service attached to it, right? At the end of the day, it's
Sure.
still business.
I'd say customer service wise, like, especially if we're looking at this, there being like more elderly patient and that idea, obviously everything's situational, dependent on different things. But I would say it's always, you get a long way by just listening and engaging. And not being dismissive of whatever it is. So, Xavier calls you for that Snickers bar. You don't just shut him down. You listen to him a little bit on that Snickers
Right.
bar. It's like, oh man, you must really love your Snickers. I think that can go a long way. Obviously, boundaries are important. We just had, I don't know when you guys are listening to this, but 4th of July just happened. It was on Friday. Our pharmacy was closed. We had a clinic. Someone from a clinic come in on Saturday, so we are open on Saturdays at limited hours, and they were very upset because we did not call the clinic and tell them that we were going to be closed on the 4th. so that they could order their meds earlier for their patients and make sure that they got them on time. And they wanted us to same day deliver some meds because they weren't going to get there on Monday, or we wouldn't guarantee it to get there on Monday for this, because we didn't tell them ahead of time. Call the clinic or email them. It's like, hey, our pharmacy is going to be closed on the 4th, just so you know. But, the other 200 clinics, they figured it out just fine. They called in early Monday. It's like, oh, I know the 4th, you're probably slammed, but let me call these in now and get these going. But this one clinic showed up Saturday, argued with the pharmacist that we didn't tell them that we were closed for the 4th. And because of that, it's our fault that we need to deliver and get these things done same day to these patients because we didn't tell them this delay. The pharmacist told them no. Said no, we're not doing that. And so they did set that boundary on that expectation, but clearly they're an example. I'm sure it happens all over the place in different things of what they're expecting, what they want, and trying to have that customer service of we situations like that happen where they call in late and we try to get stuff ready for them the next morning or have it ready to for these patients, help these patients. But, we're literally talking about a holiday weekend slammed after being closed a day. And all of a sudden, these things that expecting them to be immediate or turned around when we were closed. We're talking about mental health. There was a mental health day or a closed day that the pharmacy was closed for that. But we had to bend over backwards for these patients that, unlike the other clinics, weren't called in early expecting this or knowing this was happening. So definitely some boundaries at times that need to be set.
I got something to add a little bit on that too. So our hospital higher ups, non-pharmacists, are considering meds to bed for ER patients. We already do meds to beds for the patients in the tower. It's it's VA, nice little walk. But the pharmacy and the ER are literally side by side, like it's 10 steps. So I just don't feel like that may be beneficial for all patients. I mean, if it's, patients who have trouble walking or something like that, or more elderly, then that makes sense for select patients. But they want to do it for all patients, which is a little bit interesting. I feel like it'd be more time consuming. We gotta leave the pharmacy, go to the ER, counsel, come back. Might be somebody at the window. So it seems a little counterproductive, but that would be something.
Higher ups are telling you it's just 10 steps. Just 10 steps, Xavier. Just go.
Right. 10
it's like
steps
walking
for
to
the
the other room.
patient,
What's the
too.
problem?
10 steps
Bring
for
that
the
Snicker
patient,
bar
too.
with you on your
They
way.
need their exercise. No, but some of it can be a little bit unrealistic. Yes, we want to give the best service, but for every single patient, our ER turns out patients like, in and out. It's kind of like an urgent care mixed with the ER because we have all the veterans just come for, anything, right? So we're turning out patients nonstop. So I don't think we have the time or the staff to handle that type of, every person gets a direct delivery in counseling.
Yeah, it's challenging for pharmacy because our services and skills are directly tied to a product, the drug itself. Going back to, when you were mentioning that, Sam, kind of got my gears turning a little bit. Like when someone goes to a physician's office to get diagnosed, get a treatment, they are not leaving with something until they get to the actual pharmacy to get it. So I think it's challenging because there is unfortunately some sort of customer service attached to what we do because they're physically buying something and leaving with it, while as opposed to getting blood work and leaving with information and knowledge on how to do something, right? So it is challenging, and it kind of sucks because obviously our services and our pay are directly tied to that. So cost of something goes up, usually pharmacy staff goes down. It's really, really crappy, really, really crappy. And Xavier, it also sucks because I know what you're saying, because it's sort of like the people at top who don't see what a pharmacy is actually doing, like how it actually runs, making these decisions. And maybe on the surface, it seems like a good idea, but they're not the boots on the ground and they're not the ones directly affected by it. So it's really easy to make that call when it doesn't impact you. And sometimes I have to remind my boss that when they make these decisions. I'm very lucky because I have a more of a personalized relationship with my boss where I could say things and just be a little more candid about stuff, and he takes what I have to heart. And sometimes it sticks, and other times not so much because, he's just executing something that's coming from his boss. And so a lot of times they don't listen until they see it fail. And I'm not saying to let it fail, but you just need the results to pan out organically, and then they make a decision, which sucks. Obviously, that costs money and time, and no one wants to spend that time and money, but that's pharmacy. Very
Yeah,
wasteful sometimes.
sometimes they gotta learn the hard way. But I mean, like, we do want to give the best customer service. I would love to give everybody their med hand delivered, counsel them on the spot, have a be a direct resource directly for them for every single patient. But every patient doesn't need that. Every patient doesn't want that. So yeah, we'll see if they decide to go through with it. We'll see.
So then, how do pharmacists balance compassion for the elderly and then operational realities and liabilities? How do you guys do that? How do you give, like compassion to someone, but also cover your ass and make sure you're doing things legally and effectively at the same time?
I would say similar to kind of what I said of like listening, that part of listening and being part of that, especially for elderly. I think one thing is can be difficult. It's a very simple concept, but speaking slower for elderly patients, like especially, you get in a rhythm or you're behind, like you're kind of blasting through things. Like you've got, this stuff pretty well and you're going through, and as makes sense. It's can be a little harder to hear as elderly, or they're writing, like to write things down more. I would say, relatively speaking, that they're writing things down that you say. So that little bit of slowing down your tempo while you're counseling, talking, whatever it may be, and giving that little bit of time. You see, personally, spending that little bit of conversation with more of an elderly patient or someone that you're talking to, it's more appreciated for just having that little bit of conversation. And then to still, liability wise and working, still trying to provide that, be that little bit of time. But, specifically for compounding, there's things that, again, you were saying we get asked all sorts of weird things to compound and do. So kind of luckily in that part, the way our like certifications are, we can only purchase from very specific FDA approved facilities and things to have these certifications that we have through different companies. So it makes a lot of those oddball things where it's like, well, legally, sorry, we can't even get a hold of that to do it for you, to do these things. So that can, some of those kind of off the wall requests are already automatically shut down and kind of were protected on that end in a good reason. It's, you can't just buy stuff on Amazon, some powder or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'll buy that on Amazon. We'll make this for you, no problem. Give me a script, we'll just whip this bad boy up for something that's, not regulated potentially like it should be. Obviously depends on what it is and what you're taking, but anything prescription wise essentially has to come through an FDA facility for what we're making for people.
Nice. So yeah, at the VA, most of the patients are elderly, and me being a geriatric pharmacist and those type of patients that I tend to do very well with because I like to spend the time, talk to them, to listen to them, to really educate them on their medications, sit and listen to their stories sometimes if I have the time. So I think all the patients at the VA tend to get that care because the majority of them are over 60, 65-ish. So we do that. And then we also have, when we're fully staffed, we do have a patient education pharmacist. So we have new start insulins or inhaler teaching or new start DOAC or a patient with complex medication regimens. We have a pharmacist that can go with them and really just take the time to like slowly go through each step, do a teach back, see if they are understanding what we're telling them, to maybe create a little list or something for to make it easier for them to keep up with their meds. So having that additional pharmacist sometimes is very helpful because if you're a busy medicine pharmacist and you're covering a team of patients and you're working with the doctors and nurses and doing several other things, you don't really quite have time to do the kind of transitions of care thing. But in my hospital, we kind of double as both. Having a patient education pharmacist there to kind of like really go through and educate them on those different things, even disease states, I think it really helps. It decreases readmissions and it also helps make sure they're taking their medications correctly. So it's kind of what we do at the VA, at my specific VA.
Nice. As far as balance and compassion goes, speaking specifically about the story we just read, attending to your operational needs would be like, hey, I'm dropping off this prescription anyways. Yes, I'll bring a Snickers bar since it's on the way. It's kind of a balance between I'm doing my job and I'm showing compassion. Example, like for myself, when I was a technician, I used to do deliveries too at a little mama papa pharmacy I used to work at. And I remember going in to drop off the medicine, getting a signature, and the lady just told me to come into her house. And I walk in and it is a mess. It was like she just hoarded everything. She couldn't get from point A to point B. And so, I had to walk up, I had her sign it, and then, and she started kind of rumbling like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't get up and move. And I'm like, okay, can I at least like help you clear out a path for you so you could like actually get around your house? So, I stayed an extra 15 minutes just trying to sort through things so she can get, so she can get to her bathroom safely, get to her kitchen safely. She wouldn't stumble on things, And so, and it wasn't something I would have done had I not been to her house and dropping off her meds and already doing my job, So I think compassion really comes down to being available and helping when you can. Don't sacrifice a job to do these things, because ultimately you have to do your main priority responsibilities first, right? So I think it's just a balance of making sure being available, helping, going the extra mile when you can, but not at the cost of safety, of course. But in this case, I felt like I could have been liable for letting her walk around, stumble, falling on the ground. I'm like, I'm here. I can't pretend I didn't see this. So let me help you a little bit.
Super pharmacist Robbie.
Yeah, no, that was super tech Robbie. Super tech Robbie.
Super tech.
Yes.
Super
But,
tech.
He was much better back then.
I was. My brain
Now he's like,
deteriorated in pharmacy school. All of my hopes and dreams shriveled away. Just kidding. They got better. They expanded sometimes. Well, anyways, guys, any final thoughts you want to add in on the story for this pharmacy pandemonium?
Snickers are good.
I said, order your meds with your candy bar, please.
Snickers bar for the win. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you learned something good, you take it to the bank, you work on your compassion. As always, please send us your questions. We're on radarxpodcast.com, or you can reach out to us on our TikTok, Instagrams, shoot us a message there. We want to hear from you and share your stories and answer your questions. So don't be shy. Let us know. Leave us a review online. Guys, let's sign out of here.
Later.
Peace out.